What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. If you're a returning subscriber, as always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, I want to talk about a story, man, a sad story that happened on an island in Georgia. And 7 people lost their lives because of a maintenance, I'm going to say a maintenance failure, a construction failure of a gangway, which is like a docking type bridge that collapsed in the middle. The bridge collapsed in the center, sending a lot of people into the water. Like I said, 7 people lost their lives. And if it wasn't for, the courage of other people that were there in the water helping other people get out, there'd have been more casualties. Now, I want to show you this video, right, where people talk about what they went through. And even though this is a tragedy, it's very good to see people step up and help other people in times of need, especially if something as crazy as this. Take a look and we'll come back and talk about it.
Now we have new video of the chaos after the gangway collapse in Georgia this weekend that killed 7 people, injured several others. Faith Abube remains on the scene for us there in Georgia. Good morning to you, Faith.
Good morning to you, Robin. I've been speaking with some of the survivors, and they tell me they're still struggling with the trauma of that deadly collapse. They remember the chaos at the scene, the deaths around them. One of them even telling me that even though she has family members on that island, she won't go back until she feels there's a safer pier.
This morning, the shock and anguish at the scene of a deadly dock gangway collapse in Georgia laid bare in a new video. It was shot moments after the structure plunged down, sending at least 20 people into water Saturday afternoon.
Please, Lord.
People desperately hanging onto the railings, others in the water struggling to stay afloat.
I've never been so frightened in my life.
Diane Medley Bloodworth swept under. She says it took about a minute before she could resurface for air.
This gentleman threw a life vest on me and said, I got you. I'm not going to let you go. He's holding my head up so that I wouldn't go under.
Diane's 80-year-old aunt nearby, tightly hanging onto a rope, fighting for her life.
I ran towards the edge of the dock. I got on my stomach and I reached my hands out and Miss Bertha grabbed me.
Catherine Sneed helping get her to safety. Bertha is still in the ICU, reuniting with her hero. Her son telling us she's traumatized.
Started jumping up, screaming, yelling, reaching and grabbing. She has muscle damage in both her legs and her back. She also has damaged lungs.
The walkway collapse killed 7 other senior citizens, including Zelda Johnson's cousin and her husband.
And some of the survivors and the family members of the victims have retained lawyers, including well-known attorney Ben Crump. They believe and they're claiming that this was a preventable disaster which was caused by negligence, and now they're demanding justice and answers. Michael.
All right, thoughts with those families there, Faith. Thank you so much for that.
Time to treat yourself to an after-work drink.
Tonight, our News4JAX I-Team reporter John Hasibas has more information about the investigation and the questions now being asked.
Right now, investigators are trying to find out what led up to that collapse at Sapelo Island on that gangway. I spoke with a maritime safety expert. He tells me we should be asking questions about the capacity and what was allowed on that gangway.
I got one more.
That is the sound of people in panic on Sapelo Island in Georgia after a gangway dock collapsed over the weekend.
There's investigators that are out there collecting information. And
Kurt Halyard is an expert in the maritime industry. His experience spans more than 40 years. He's got some questions about what happened that led to the deaths of 7 people.
What was the design and construction of this gangway, and how was it installed? And then what type of inspections are done on the gangway on a regular basis to ensure that it's safe to utilize?
According to the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, the gangway collapsed at the Marsh Landing dock, sending 20 people into the water.
It's my understanding that the structure collapsed in the middle. One end of the gangway is in the water. One end of the gangway on the landward side is still attached. I can't tell you exactly at this point in time what happened.
Now, a full-scale investigation is ongoing, including local, federal, and state agencies, looking into what the Georgia Department of Natural Resources is calling a failure into the gangway. A gangway officials say should have needed very little maintenance, but was inspected daily.
And I think that's another aspect they're going to be looking at now is, how was it constructed? Is it constructed to meet the standards that have been set?
Georgia DNR says the gangway was inspected less than a year ago in December of 2023 by Crescent Equipment Company. News4Jax requested those records as well as the number of people allowed on the gangway from the DNR and are waiting to hear back.
So is there somebody on the dock from the state making sure that not too many people are walking across the gangway at any one time? Is there somebody on board the ferry that gets off and stops people from coming down? And having too many people.
John Acebus, Channel 4, the local station.
That's the news story, and my heart goes out, to the families, the victims' families, and those that survived. Because, something like this, it give you PTSD. You seen the lady said she wake up sometimes screaming, upset. It's one of those things. Now, they said this gangway bridge or whatever, leads to a ferry. Supposedly these people were coming off of the ferry when this thing fell. My thing is this, it said this thing was inspected once a year, right? Okay, if it's inspected once a year, it's in Georgia. I don't know what the weather is, but it's a structural thing and it's in water. From my experiences, working in the oil fields and stuff, a lot of times stuff is checked or inspected, especially when it's human lives that can be lost. If this thing has a catastrophic failure, a lot of times it's every 3 months or every 6 months, not every year. Make no mistake. Evidently, this thing crumbled over a failure of a lot of weight. Now, this is the problem with this. These people are facing a massive lawsuit. Whoever's in trouble, facing a massive lawsuit. The people that inspected it might have met regulations, but it still could have been faulty. It's going to be a lot of passing of the buck and attempts that people don't want to pay, for damages for these families that lost loved ones and the people that was traumatized in it as well. But somebody's responsible for this. And somebody gonna take the fall for it, and rightly so. Now, who? I don't know, but this is sad. It's sad. And they were older people, so I don't know if this was some type of thing that it was some type of trip where it was a big gathering of people. And they was going to do something like a family reunion or something. Who knows, man? But I do know, man, people lost their lives. They said it was a baby in the water that was going in and out of consciousness. In another story I seen. And they were talking about, a guy had the baby on the boat and took the baby to the mainland where an ambulance was waiting. And it subsequently saved the child's life. I don't know if anybody's ever been in a position where it's total chaos and hysteria. And a lot of people need help at one time, but a lot of people just freeze up. And a lot of these people did not. So, they get a salute from me. That's respect. So, like I said, I'm sorry for the people that lost their lives, and it is a tragedy. Now, they got Ben Crump down there talking, representing 2 of the victims' families, and we'll see what happens. But, it could have been a lot worse. As if the situation wasn't worse enough. And it's sad. Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Prayers to the victims and their families. See you in the next video. Take care.